My name is Craig. I'm a power host on tour with 12 vehicles, 10 of which are rent out. So I just had a previous guest reach out to me and they asked me actually a pretty good question. You can pause and read if you like. Okay, this was actually a really good question. I'm glad somebody asked it because I've actually been working on some of this stuff literally as we speak. Um, I've touched on previous videos, a lot of my issues were price issues in the beginning. I've touched on the GPS trackers and even the advice on repoing cars, how to talk to people. Like these are all essentially a lot of the beginning issues that you'll have. Now that you're fine tuning stuff, here are some of the issues that I am still running into. Number one is people don't read. People don't read. People damn it, they don't read. So one thing I did do to counter that, which didn't work, funny enough, was my wife and I came up with the idea to put memes in the pictures. So the first picture of whatever vehicle is a picture of the vehicle. But then the next picture, the very next picture, is a person getting smacked in the face with a book. And it says, read the information I send you because, spoiler alert, it's full of important information for you. The next picture is a picture of that vehicle. The very next picture is the shocked Pikachu face. And it says, hey, I'm here an hour early with no heads up and nobody's here. The very next picture is a picture of the vehicle. The very next picture is the confused Jackie Chan face. And it's like, I was informed 2 to 3 times that there's no smoking in the vehicle. I smoked and I got charged. And then the rest of the photos are, of the vehicle. Still, they didn't work. People still don't read it. All right, so another thing I actually did was set up my automatic messages, and then I send a reminder 1 hour before their trip starts. And the reminder is to let me know their ETA 1 hour in advance, whether they're on time, early, or late, as this is not my primary residence. And if they don't open it or respond to it, then I'll text them directly. People don't realize you have access to their personal phone number on Toro. And it says, hey, good morning, good evening, whatever. This is your Toro host. Be sure to stay on top of your messages in the app as it is our primary source for communication. That usually works. And then they say, will do, and then they go to the app and then they'll be like, oh, I'm on my way. Okay, sounds good. What's your actual ETA? Or they'll be like, oh, I'm actually only like 5 minutes away. I hope that's okay. And sometimes it works out, like I'm already here, but sometimes I'm not. A lot of times I'm not. I'm dealing with another car or another customer or whatever. So sometimes I'll be like, oh, well, I'll need about 10 minutes after you get here. And they'll be like, oh, okay, no problem. Usually because I sent all those messages, they're never mad. It's a good tactic. They realize that they fucked up because I sent it in the greeting message, and then I also sent them a reminder, and then I had to text their fucking phone to get them to read the message. So like, even if they had to wait a half hour because they decided to show up mad early, they're not mad because they fucked up and I did everything right on my part. So it is important to send those messages. I don't really know how to fix that. I'm fiddling with the idea of just making videos, kind of like this, just much shorter and much more attention grabbing. I think that's a good idea. I just don't know if it'll work. Because if you booked the car and I sent you all that information, if you booked the car and you didn't look through the pictures to see the person getting smacked in the face with the book, and then you didn't read the message about the parking options and all the other options, and then you get here like, oh, there was a parking option? Or like, I didn't realize this vehicle was electric. Yeah, it's electric. Oh, you didn't read any of those messages I sent you. Let's see, what are my other issues? I've noticed that if the maintenance required soon or maintenance required light comes on, they'll dock me and say it's the check engine light was on. Anybody who knows anything about cars knows that's not your check engine light. 9.9 times out of 10, it's just an oil change and tire rotation. Like, bro, you drove 1,100 miles. The car probably needs an oil change. You're not the only one who rents the car. Maybe, I had a few rentals before you and you just put 1,100 miles on it. Now it needs an oil change. I think they do that, not necessarily, I'm sure some do because they're just that dumb and they think it actually is a check engine light. But I think I'm giving the benefit of the doubt and saying that the majority of them do it because they're afraid they're gonna get charged. That makes the most sense to me. It's like, oh, I don't want him to try to charge me and say I did this, so I'm gonna say that the check engine light was on. And so now what I do is I respond to my checkup message. So I send a checkup message to everybody who rents a car, and now when they respond to that checkup message, I have a response to their response. And it's, hey, I'm glad he or she's treating you well. Please be advised. I don't remember exactly how I said because I just created this, but more or less, please be advised if the maintenance required soon or maintenance required light comes on, it's just an oil change, entire rotation. You'll be fine. Like, unless you're going across the country or you're planning on having the vehicle for 30 days plus, you'll be absolutely fine. I'll take care of it when you get back. Enjoy your trip. I think that's more or less it. Honestly, most of my issues are with Turo personally. Like, my other issues are with Turo. Like, I had touched on repoing. Like, if you had to go repo your car, Turo is only allowed to charge the guests one additional day. Now, all those other fees, that stacks up. But like, if they had your car for 4 extra days, they only get billed for that 1 extra day. So you only get paid for that 1 extra day. You get a bunch of other fees on top of it. But that's why self-repoing is so important, because it doesn't matter how long your car's gone, you're not getting reimbursed for that. And I don't agree with that. That's not cool. I also don't like, if you start speeding like kind of crazy, there's a whole process you have to go through. So you have to provide supporting documents and upload them to the trip photos. You have to message the guests a specific message. But what I don't like is that Turo gives them an hour. They have an hour to keep fucking around in your car potentially. I don't think that's okay. I don't think that's okay. I think it should be okay in certain scenarios. But if I have proof that the guest is doing 99 miles an hour, 107, 110, anything in that area, like anything 98 miles an hour and above, if you're in one of these little Toyotas that I have, you probably aren't going to survive that car accident. And whoever you hit probably isn't going to survive that either. I don't think that they should have an hour. That is a long time to be doing 100 plus miles an hour. And so many opportunities for someone to die. That is a problem I have, and there's nothing we could really do about it at the moment, which kind of sucks. So I'm gonna try to steer away from problems that there's nothing we can do about it. Here's actually a pretty decent issue. It's on a bigger scale of things. Where I am now. So as far as this building, so it's great. It's fantastic actually. Like, it's a pretty good setup, and my rent is dirt cheap. The likelihood of me finding this again is slim to none. That's actually a problem, because now I am at the mercy of my landlord. Now, my landlord's fantastic, and this setup is perfect, and I'm gonna probably ride this out as long as I can, to be completely honest. But at the end of the day, I'm vulnerable. So if the owner decides to sell the building, or somebody wants to pay top dollar to kick a few people out so they can set up shop here, the chances of that is not zero. Essentially, I'm kind of at this guy's mercy. If something happens, I would be forced to pick up this, pretty large business and just figure it out. So I am vulnerable. So I would hope that the next step for me in the future is to own my own building. That way I don't answer to anybody except the bank. And once it's paid off, I don't answer to anybody except, taxes. It's not a problem, but it's a problem. But it's not a problem because it's not a problem. Another issue is maintenance, and not maintenance in general, but maintenance when it's all at once. So it just happened to me where I had a massive amount of, it was all normal maintenance, but it was all at once, and it was devastating. So the fix to that is to build up a savings. But now I know for sure that I did the right thing by setting money aside every single month. Having personal mechanics is huge. These guys take really good care of me. If I need some time to pay something off, they'll give me the time. They try not to crush my wallet. At the same time, they gotta eat. So they do what they can, and in return, I do what I can. Like, There's been plenty of times where I've taken them out for lunch, and there's been times where they took me out to lunch, or because we work. There's days where like I haven't eaten all day and neither is my mechanic. Sit right here in my office or in their shop or whatever and chow down, and you know, we're really appreciative of one another at the end of the day. One hand washes the other, both wash the face. I don't really have an answer for that just yet as far as parts go, and other than making friends with a mechanic. You know, and if you got a mechanic that is starting their own shop, even better. So like now my mechanic, he started his own shop. He gets the parts for the same prices that the big chains get their stuff for. So now I'm not paying that 300% markup. That's real, by the way. I'm not paying that astronomical markup. I'm not even paying, if I were to just go down to AutoZone or whatever store or whatever part store, buy the part myself. It's way cheaper when you have a commercial account, like significantly cheaper. Now there are some things that aren't, you know what I mean? And there are some things that where my military discount is actually cheaper than getting it from the commercial account, or there's some things that you can't get aftermarket, like you have to get it from a dealership because your car is just a little too new. But yeah, either being friends with your mechanic shop or having a mechanic that has his or her own shop, that will help you out tremendously with maintenance. That shit ain't cheap. Even when you have Toyotas, most of my cars are Toyotas, it still ain't cheap to do shocks and struts all the way around. It still ain't cheap to do brakes and rotors all the way around, and then, oh, actually, since we were in here, your wheel bearing is going on this side, or both of your wheel bearings are going. You know, all that stuff adds up and adds up fast. Now I want to find a way to decrease that bill even further. That's more or less it. I have touched on my EVs, how my EVs don't rent out that much. They are incredibly busy during prom season. So those few, like 3 to 4 months in a row, and tax returns. So it's like it's a good 4 to 5 months straight where they are like I almost never see them. So almost half the year. That's actually not bad. I wish it was significantly more, but about half the year, a little less than half the year, they're booked, and they're booking a lot. The other half of the year, they're not really booking that much, and a lot of that is probably because where I'm located, one, and then two, a lot of people don't realize that the cars that aren't Tesla are better. They're just better. Sorry, Tesla. Not sorry, actually. And they're much easier to charge. Like there's more of those other charging stations than Teslas. You know, and I have an adapter. I have at least one adapter. I'm going to acquire another one soon, and that way I have the Tesla adapter to give those people that extra peace of mind. But what I did was I started doing Uber and Lyft. So it's mostly it's a clever way to market. So now instead of paying for marketing, I'm literally getting paid to market myself. So it's a really nice car, my BMW or my Cadillac. Whenever the passenger gets in, the conversation is almost the same as every single time. They hop in, they're like, oh, this is a really nice car, or I feel way too broke to be in here, or like, ooh, I got me rolling in style today, you know, whatever. And I'll do a little giggle, and then I'll say, hey, you can take it for a spin anytime. And they don't take it seriously. They just kind of laugh that one off, and then I would pass them a card, and they're like, wait, you're serious? You know, and sometimes they book that fancy vehicle, but you know, a lot of times they don't. They'll book one of my other vehicles. But I do get a lot of business that way, and now that EV is making money directly. So it's making me money twice. It's making me money on that ride, and then it's also making money by pulling more people in to book other vehicles. There's been times, I've said it before, I'll say it again, where I was in the middle of a ride, or I picked somebody up from one of those big places that's notorious for screwing people over, like that place where you go to win a prize, that place that you might accidentally get hurt. You know, there's a place you might go where you might be on a little bit of a budget. So, you know, I picked people up from those places that they just got screwed over, and now they ended up renting one of my vehicles right in my back seat, and then they'll change the destination, and I'll end up taking them to go rent one of my vehicles. So I made money on the trip. They usually tip me incredibly well, and then they book one of my vehicles, so I'm making a few $100 on top of that through Turo. It's fantastic. So I found a clever way to have those vehicles make me money instead of just sitting there for about a half a year, only pulling in once and Tuesdays. That's about it. Those are pretty much my biggest issues and what I have been doing to try to counter that. As always, I'm your power host, Craig, and I hope I could provide a better experience.